All right, let's get over to the segment that we've come to just love over the past number of weeks with our friends at Mercy Health. We call it What's Up, Doc? And, well, we've been talking to different specialists and different people from Mercy Health who know their stuff and, have somehow lost a bet or been talked into coming on the show with us. Yeah. And this morning is no exception. We got summer already here, and you're looking for a different COVID-19 sort of world with summer along. Well, to offer up some safety tips for you and some loved ones this summer is Dr. Nicole Lupei, family medicine physician at Mercy Health. Dr. Lupei, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show. So what was it? Did you lose a bet? Short straw? What happened that you
rock, paper, scissors?
You got picked. Yeah, rock, paper, scissors maybe to come on with us?
No, not this time. Just doing it out of the goodness of my heart to help educate the community.
Wow. I like that.
Yeah.
Goodness of our hearts. We should try that sometime.
It's a much higher class of guest than we usually have.
Exactly so. And a much lower class of host than she's used to. All right. What about the risks this summer? Anecdotally, you hear all sorts of different things. Well, summer's a lot tougher on the coronavirus, of course. It's hot out there. It doesn't survive. Well, summer should be an easier and better time. True, false, or somewhere in the middle?
Well, unfortunately, it's a little bit somewhere in the middle, and it really depends on the environment that you're in and the activities that you're doing this summer. So, for example, some low-risk activities that you can do outside would be things that you can socially distance or do with your family or household, including golf, tennis, Frisbee, swimming. You want to avoid areas that are going to be indoors with large groups of people, such as movie theaters or even playing basketball and activities such as that.
So anything that's going to require close physical contact, when you use basketball as an example, you just mean because players are close to one another by virtue of the game, right?
Exactly. So ideally, you want to be able to space yourself for at least 6 feet from people, from other different families or different households. And unfortunately, basketball is one of those activities where you can't really avoid the other person if you're playing well.
Frisbee golf still okay?
Sure, Frisbee's great.
I can frolf. Good.
Good. Yes, you mentioned golf. You mentioned tennis, because obviously there's, by virtue of how it's set up, you are well socially distanced there.
Exactly. Also hiking, taking advantage of our great parks in Rockford. As long as you can kind of stay away from others and aren't going to a extremely busy or crowded park, that's a great opportunity to get some sunshine and activity.
Hot weather, of course, brings along the desire anyway to cannonball into a swimming pool a time or two over the course of the season. What's the pool risk on all this?
Well, evidence shows that COVID-19 can't be spread through water, especially chlorinated pools. The risk comes more if you're in a crowded pool where people are kind of playing on top of each other and not able to socially distance. The overall pools, if your distance is pretty low risk, since the water is pretty safe and you can't spread COVID-19 through the water. However, if you're on top of each other, since COVID virus spreads person to person via respiratory droplets, if you're on top of someone screaming, talking, playing, that puts your risk a little bit higher.
We talked to a couple doctors the last couple months, and one thing we always want to get their opinion on is mask usage. Are you pretty okay with some of the activities you listed? People going out without a mask to do these things?
Well, it depends on, again, how close you are to others. If you're outside in your own backyard, you don't necessarily need to be using a mask. However, if you are going to be in a public space, especially if you're unable to avoid being more than 6 feet away from others, then I do recommend wearing a mask. Almost, as a rule, in a public space, you do need to wear those masks.
And we've talked to a bunch of people who kind of employ the same method that Joe and I have talked about a lot of times, which is you hit the sidewalk in front of a place that you're going into, the mask goes on, you go in, you get done what you have to do, you come back out, you're on the sidewalk again, assuming you're not packed with people, that mask can come back off, you get in your car and go do your thing.
Yeah, exactly. If you're by yourself, if you're on the street and there's no one around, I think it's fine to remove your mask. If you do see someone approaching, whether it's on a hiking trail or on a sidewalk, go ahead and just put your mask back on, just to respect the other person that's coming down too. You never know who has health risk issues that may be higher risk than others.
We talk about the summer activities, and we talk the disinfectant nature of sunlight and whatnot, and warmer weather. As the summer wanes off and we turn into fall, and it gets a little cooler outside, assuming kind of numbers are staying where they're at. Same activities will be recommended as the seasons change?
Yeah, I think for now, until we know more about the spread of COVID-19 and get things under control, I think you are going to be seeing the same guidelines go on into the fall and winter, especially with social distancing and masking, also with hand washing and the basic tenets of safety. Staying at home when you're sick, wearing your mask around other people, social distance, and then just wash your hands with soap and water as much as possible, especially when you're coming back from a public place or if you're using any items that might be shared, like at grounds and equipment.
Okay, you had mentioned some of the things, okay, basketball, you're up close and personal, and some of the other things. What are some of the other riskier events over the summer, or gatherings, or things that people should definitely put on their, okay, we need to avoid that list?
So I would say large group settings. Try to keep your parties and your gatherings to less than 10 people, ideally. Especially if you're having large group settings where there's people from multiple households. Also, alcohol use at parties. We all know that our inhibitions come out, and sometimes common sense goes out the window when people are drinking alcohol. So we tend to go back to our normal activity and forget to put the mask on and forget to stop, don't shake hands to people next to you and share, things that can spread COVID-19.
So if you're drinking, just make sure your mask is like stapled to your ears, right?
Yeah. Well, we've seen some of the things going on in other states, in Florida and Texas, when everybody gets together and starts drinking, then there's on top of each other, and there's definitely 2 weeks later a little bit of a burst of COVID-19 activity.
Yeah, I get on top of people when I drink.
Yeah, see, and that's the problem. That's the problem. That results in, non-social distancing and potential lawsuits down the line. You don't want any of those sorts of troubles. So a lot of this is basically what you have been seeing and reading all along without a lot of variations on it. Put the mask on when you're in a place and there's a whole bunch of other people. Don't worry about it so much if you are well socially spaced and away from people. You don't need it when you're driving in the car. You don't need it when you're out mowing your own lawn, do you?
Correct.
What about, we've mentioned a bunch of outdoor activities. You said, shy away from indoor activities. Are there any indoor activities we can do this summer that you would feel are safer than others? Going to a movie, per se, anything like that?
Well, again, with movie theaters and places that have the possibility that there's going to be more people within that 6 feet area, I would probably try to avoid it if possible. Same thing with travel. I know a lot of people are trying to avoid travel outside the cities and getting on planes and things like that. So that does increase your risk a little bit. Definitely, if you are going to be in those settings, you want to make sure you're using a mask and you're washing your hands if you're touching common items.
So, once again, a little common sense, look around you, assess the situation around you, and act accordingly.
You've done a very nice job of answering questions that have the same answer to all of us and keeping your patience with us. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me again.
We're glad to do it. Let's find out a little bit more about you before we let you go. How'd you get your start in this, and what sparked the interest in doing what you do today?
Sure. So I'm a family practice physician. I'm also the associate program director for a family practice residency at Mercy Health. I really just enjoyed seeing families and seeing the kids all the way up through the grandparents and really providing some health education and prevention. I also enjoy teaching and helping to bring up our next crop of family practice doctors that can, help people live a happy, healthy life.
I think that's a great motivation. I can't think of a better one. That's why we got into this job too.
Help people.
Except for all the the helping people part and educating them and things like that.
Altruism,
yeah. Except for all that altruism part. That's why we got into the business as well. Obviously, you know your stuff, and if anybody has any questions along these lines, look no further than the answers that you just gave us on how to get out there and live your life this summer, but do it safely. Avoid the things that get you and your family potentially into some difficulties. And we should all get through this and come out on the other side. Are you looking forward to the day when it's National Mask Burning Day?
I think we all are. Get back to normalcy and getting able to see our friends and family without a mask.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to that. She is Dr. Nicole Lupei. She is with Mercy Health and has taken time out of her day to spend it with us, and we definitely appreciate it. Dr. Lupei, have a terrific day, and thanks for your time.
Thanks, you too.